Are you looking to understand how Ansible works? Are you a network engineer and confused about from where to start network automation? Or you want to learn how to install Ansible and run your first playbook? If yes, then you are at the right place. In this video, you will get all your answers. We will install Ansible on our Linux box and then run our first Ansible playbook. Let's get started. So this is a brand new Linux box, fresh installed, and I have not installed anything as of yet on this. Let's check Ansible version here. Okay, it's not installed, that's why it's showing command not found. Let's start to install Ansible and its related components. First we will update the yum repositories. This Linux box is RHEL 8. Install Python 3. It's installing now and asking for confirmation. Yes. Now we are installing Ansible. Ansible is installed. The last component, paramiko, we'll install that as well. It's done. So as we can see that Ansible 2.9.7 version is installed. Now we will start our first inventory file and then Ansible playbook. Inventory file is the file that includes all the hosts from where Ansible playbook picks the host to run commands that we specify in the playbook. Let's get started. I'll use VI editor to create and edit file. You can give any name to this inventory file. I am giving inventory Cisco router. I'll add a comment to this inventory file so that I can easily identify when I have a lot of inventory files. Ansible inventory file for Cisco XE routers. Now I'll create a group named hosts. These groups are useful for calling in our Ansible playbooks, and then I'll add our hosts. You can leave it like this only if your Cisco routers respond to port 22, which is the default for SSH. Since my routers respond to port 8181, I am setting the port 8181 in the inventory file, and now I'll be setting the host variables. Ansible network OS, since these are Cisco routers, I am setting it to iOS. Ansible user. So if we define user here, we won't be requiring to define it in our playbook or an later stage. But if we want to define at later stage, that is also an option. That user will override this user that we mentioned in our inventory file. Done, our inventory file is created. I'll save it. Now let's start creating our playbook. So what we want to do as the first playbook, let's try to read IP configuration of Cisco devices. We will create a playbook to read show IP interface brief output. All YAML file starts with 3 dashes, and YAML language is the one that is used to create playbooks. I have added 3 dashes, and now I'll define the parameters, name, you have to make sure that you don't put any tabs in this YAML file, else it will give an error. YAML file should only contain spaces. Gather facts. No, Ansible has the feature to gather the facts from iOS or EOS devices, but we don't want to use that feature for now. Connection will be network CLI. I'll define the tasks now. I'll define it to read the IP configuration from network devices. Let's name it so that we will be able to see when the playbook is running, what action is being performed by Ansible. I'll name it as read IP configuration, and we will use CLI command module. There are various modules in Ansible, so it depends on what action we are performing and on what type of device. So we can add the command similar to what we run on Cisco devices. We can use filters as well. For example, I am using exclude filter to exclude unassigned interfaces. Now the IP configuration will be stored in a variable named result. Debug will be used to show that variable on screen. That's it. Our playbook is also ready now. Let's save it. Oops. Now let's run Ansible playbook now. The command for running it is ansible-playbook, and the playbook name. With -i we can define the inventory file that we want to use. I have created Cisco router inventory file. I will use that, and then I'll define parameter -k. -k instructs Ansible to prompt for password. I am expecting to see an error. I have intentionally not modified those settings so that I can show you. Let's wait for the output. Okay, there it is. So what this error is saying, the SSH RSA key fingerprint is this. The authenticity of the host can't be established. Why it is saying that? Because we are connecting to these hosts first time, and our this Linux box doesn't have their public key stored in the key store. So to do that, we have two options. Either we can connect one by one to all the hosts that are present in our inventory file But in case we have a lot number of hosts, let's say 20 or 50, it is not feasible or easier to connect each host one by one and then save its RSA key in this Linux box. So we have an option to override that feature. We can create a file in our home directory named at ansible.cfg and create a default here, defaults host underscore key underscore checking is equals to false. We will save this and again run our playbook. Great. So now you can see the output of show IP interface brief. Congratulations. So you installed Ansible and ran your first Ansible playbook. Thank you.